being able to see it on paper helps me be able to reparent those thoughts and to little by little work on getting that fear to become less and less, hopefully until the point that I don't have that fear anymore.
Awesome. Okay, so if somebody were to ask you, what is really helping you with journaling, or where do I start? What would you say? That's part two to this, right? Is like the responding. I also had you respond to letters that you had written to little Andres with your left hand, right? Because they say that, we're with our right hand, if you're right-handed, left-handed, whatever your dominant hand is, use the opposite hand because that triggers the opposite side of our brains, right? So it kind of taps into something that you don't even know is there anymore. And so when you start to write with your left hand, you're like, holy moly, like these emotions are coming out of me that I didn't even know existed.
And so that's why I believe that journaling is so important because it just helps you bring all this out that you wouldn't be able to if you don't dedicate time and space to be able to do it.
I love that. Okay, last question. Would you feel that journaling has silenced your negative self-talk and made you more in tune with your inner child? Welcome back to Healing Mama Podcast. I am Val, aka Healing Mama. Today is episode 19, Inner Child Healing Introduction to Journaling. I did have a special request by one of the viewers to go ahead and do a introduction video to inner child healing and journaling, and also a request to have my husband, Andres, aka Healing Papa, as he so named himself. Thank you for joining me again today. And have him kind of do his explanation and insight as to where he's at with journaling and what he does in terms of journaling for inner child and how we kind of navigate that together. So I will go ahead and get started. I have two quotes. They're very quick, very easy. And then Healing Papa will let you kick off your quotes as well. And then we'll kind of dive into that and then get into the whole episode. Fill the paper with the breathings of your heart. That's the first quote. The second one is journaling is like whispering to oneself and listening at the same time. So I loved them both. And even though they're both short and sweet, I feel like the first one, fill the paper with the breathings of your heart. That's my idea of journaling. When you are journaling in terms of healing your inner child, that's what you do. You write down how you're feeling, how you felt in the past, and it's literally an extension of your inner child, just jotting down the journaling when you are working on the inner child. And then when you're journaling in terms of who you are today, that's a little bit different. And so I feel like that leads into the second quote with the journaling is like whispering to oneself and listening at the same time. So you're writing it down and then you can look back at it and really look at it at a deeper level and maybe even take time, right? It's not necessarily something that when you journal, you're going to read it tomorrow. It's something that you can give yourself time on. Like today, I was going through my journals to kind of give you guys an example of what I was writing a year ago or a year and a half ago, and looking back at it and being able to see growth, being able to see change. And so there's different levels of journaling. So there's the inner child healing journaling where we're trying to access a deeper level of ourselves. And then there's the journaling like, hey, today sucked type of journaling. So I think that there's mixed bags of that. And so that's my quotes today. Go ahead and share your quotes or
Alrighty.
quote.
So for today, the quote that I've chosen is by Wendy Mateka, and the quote is, journaling is one of the best and most accessible ways to tap into your inner child and your team. Learn about, learn about and from them and bring them forward. As you introspect and dive deeper, you began to understand who you were before the world put labels on you. And so for me, that quote really stood out because as you're journaling, you truly are finding out who you were before the world did put labels on you. And so when you're out in the world and you have so many thoughts running through your head, your inner critics just constantly telling you what you're not. But when you take the time to sit down and to actually get a piece of paper and a pen, all those scrambling thoughts start to unscramble. And little by little, you start to be able to write down your thoughts in a more clear way, and they're clear on paper. And so when you're able to write them down and they're more clear, you're able to go deeper into who you really are instead of just hearing that inner critic always trying to tell you who you are. That's why I think that journaling, why it's so important is because it helps you get through all the noise and just to see who you really are by decluttering all that noise and putting it on paper,
Yeah, so like the negative self-talk.
being able being able to actually hear your true self coming out on that paper.
Okay, awesome. So we'll kind of dive into that because I already have questions. So I will get started with a journal entry that I have. It's very short and sweet. I want you guys to know journaling is different for everybody. So for me, if you give me a notebook, I'm going to be overwhelmed by the size of the notebook and feeling like I have to fill it out. And I have a hand problem where a tendon is messed up. So writing and taking time to actually physically write does hurt. And so I had a little tablet for the longest time. And now that doesn't work because my hand hurts even writing stuff down on a little tablet, so I do it on my phone. So if writing something down on a tablet doesn't work for you, try your phone. If that doesn't work for you, try recording yourself. Try typing, doing like a blog style journal. So there's different strokes for different folks, right? And it's a matter of finding what works best for you. Back in April 24th of 2024, my journal says, "Today, Marsha was the who is the lady who helped guide me into the inner child healing work that I have done over the last year and a half. Today, Marsha helped guide me through shadow work, healing my inner child. And man, it was a lot of emotions. I cried for the first time in months, and it helped me to forgive myself for not protecting or loving little me. I promised to love and protect little Val, to do what is best for her and put her first. I had lost sight of that and looked for love and validation from everyone else, and when they let me down, it hurt. I silenced that side of myself, not ever truly realizing that that was the most important part. So today, when I was going through my journals, I was like, holy cow, like this is everything that I'm saying on these videos, like the connection with our little versions of ourselves, the connection with little Val that I lost, that I never even realized I had lost. And so nurturing her. And so I feel like that's a huge part of journaling is when you go back and you look at it a year and a half later, looking at the growth, looking at the realization, looking how far I have come and how much has changed along the way. Back in April of 2024, I was still talking to my dad. I hadn't set boundaries. I hadn't learned to truly protect and love myself, and now I have, right? And so really doing what I said I was going to do on this paper. And so this journaling side of things could be inner child, it could be affirmations, it could be gratitudes, and then looking back at it. And I feel like that's the best part is because you're able to track the growth. Versus if I didn't have this, I didn't know April 2024, I was doing inner child work, and that's when it really kind of sunk into me. So I like the fact that journaling helps you kind of keep tabs on your healing and tabs on your growth, and also kind of lends itself to learning and looking at things, like you said, at a bigger picture and discovering that you don't have to listen to the negative self-talk. So you tell me, Healing Papa, what you feel has worked for you in the journaling or what you like out of journaling so far.
So something that I really like out of journaling would be that I get to put what I'm going through at the moment in my life. I get to put it on paper. So when I've been waking up, I meditate, and when I'm meditating, I have thoughts that are running through my head. And so those thoughts, I take those thoughts and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna journal about these thoughts. And then I start to journal and I just start writing down. Right now, recently in my life, what I'm trying to work on is public speaking, giving speeches in front of people. So taking those feelings of fear when I'm standing in front of everybody and when I'm meditating, just asking myself, because I'm like, okay, why am I feeling this fear when I'm standing in front of people? And so I'm feeling those feelings and I'm asking myself, okay, why am I scared right now? And then after that, I go downstairs and I start to journal, and that's when I'm like, okay, why am I scared to stand in front of people? And then the thoughts start to unscramble, and then I start getting realizations like, okay, because when you were the center of attention back in middle school, it's because you were being bullied, and every time that the spotlight was on you, it was always because you were being made fun of for a whole bunch of different reasons. And so just being able to write down the situation, like the way that I remember it as vividly as I can, I just start writing it down, the emotions that I felt. I start remembering the things that I was told and being able to see the situation, but from my adult perspective now, and being able to remind myself, like, okay, that's the situation I was in then, but I'm not living like that anymore. And so I start to reparent myself through that situation and telling myself, okay, we're not living like that anymore. You're not being bullied anymore. You're not being in the spotlight for that reason anymore. Now it's because you're being given time and a platform to be able to share thoughts that you have. And people are actually listening to me. So I don't have to be scared anymore because that spotlight isn't a negative thing anymore. Now it's a positive thing. Being able to see it on paper helps me be able to reparent those thoughts and to little by little work on getting that fear to become less and less, hopefully until the point that I don't have that fear anymore.
Awesome. Okay, so if somebody were to ask you, what is really helping you with journaling, or where do I start? What would you say?
What I would say to somebody that wants to know how to start journaling, first of all, you do have to find what works the best for you. And I don't really think for myself, I don't know if recording myself on a video or using a phone would really work for me, but what did work for me was being able to just get a physical pen and a piece of paper or a spiral and just start writing down whatever I'm thinking, whatever's been bothering me that morning, anything that that keeps reoccurring in my brain. If I want to get rid of that thought, I just write it down on paper. And that's regardless of what it is, whether it's me thinking about the fear of standing in front of others, whether it's the fear of me not being where I'm at, where my brain tells me I should be at in my life right now since I'm 36 years old. Those reoccurring thoughts that I have in my brain, that's what I'm like, okay, I'll just start writing about this because I really don't have a direction in what I'm going to journal that day. I just use whatever's running through my mind and I just start putting it on paper and it just starts kind of
Making
going,
sense.
it starts making sense and it goes in an order instead of being all scrambled in my mind. As soon as I take the time to sit down and start writing on the paper, it just becomes the way that you said, it just starts to make sense and it starts to flow, which didn't flow when I just had everything running in my head.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I feel like sometimes we can overthink things, right? We're like, oh my God, journaling. Like, I'm gonna have to think about what I'm gonna write. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's literally just writing the words down, like, hey, I'm feeling like crap today. Today sucked. Like, and I feel like that's something that Marsha told me that I loved because she, at one point in time when we were talking about journaling and she asked me to start journaling because I didn't do it in the past, I'm like, journaling? Like, who does that? It was something that she told me, if you are mad at somebody, right, like F this person, like, and not that we want to like hone in on that energy, but like let the emotions flow onto the paper. And the goal is to like let them flow on the paper. And if you can, do your best to leave them on the paper. Close it, leave it there, don't take it with you, right? And so I feel like sometimes it's easy for people to look at journaling and like myself be overwhelmed like, oh my God, I'm supposed to know what to write every day. I'm gonna run out of things to write. Like you said, it's not going into it necessarily like knowing what you're going to write. This is just like, this is how I feel today. Or I do the same thing that you do. After I meditate, I'll write down like how my meditation experience was, what came to mind, what feelings came up, everything that I experienced in that meditation. And so I feel like that's a second part of journaling for me as well. But I feel like it can be overwhelming when we overthink it, when it could be as simple as today I had a great day, or today I cried and it was just overwhelming. And I feel like things are hitting me back to back to back. And I don't know why. And I need a break. And writing it down and saying, like, okay, I got all my feelings out because as human beings, we are triggered probably on a daily basis. And so we're trying to in a sense hold in these emotions that we're feeling because we're like, okay, we can't show the world, like right now I'm busy with work, I can't show my manager or my coworkers that I'm upset by something, right? And so you hold that in, but where does it go after that? It stays stored in your body. So letting these emotions out and putting them onto pen and paper or whatever works best for that person, right? But not overthinking journaling.
Mhm.
When you and I started working together through inner child healing, I asked you to write letters to younger you, little Andres. Do you feel like that is something that helped you?
I mean, it definitely is something that helped me because writing those letters to myself, it really, it helped me start connecting with my inner child because since I abandoned my inner child for so long, in the beginning, it was really hard to connect because I didn't have a connection from being disconnected for so long. So starting to write those letters to my inner child, telling him that I know that I wasn't there for you, that I didn't provide the support that you needed. Like I said, I'm already 36, so maybe I was 35 when I started journaling. I can't really remember. But being an adult from 18 all the way up to 35, and maybe even before 18, all those years of neglecting my inner child because I didn't even know that I had an inner child. And now journaling to him, it helped. First of all, it helped me be able to write down those feelings and being able to express to my inner child how I was feeling for neglecting him for so long. Journaling, writing it down on paper, it's like it was a gateway to that connection with my inner child. So even though I meditate and I built that connection as well, being able to sit down and write on a piece of paper really helped build that connection as well because like I said, it unscrambled all the thoughts that I was having and I was able to pinpoint every emotion that I felt and I was also able to feel the emotions as well. Like when I told him that I was sorry for abandoning him for so long, I was able to feel the hurt that he was feeling. And feeling that hurt, I was like, man, I've really let him down by I really hurt him, and that gave me more of a sense or an urgency to want to build that connection because I could feel the hurt. And even though I wanted to fix it right away, I knew that I couldn't, but I at least could feel the hurt, and I had something to work with and work towards because I definitely wanted to decrease that hurt because I felt how big it was, and I know that journaling helped me feel that pain and that hurt and I don't think I would have been able to do it just trying to visualize or just trying to speak to my inner child through my mind. I don't think I would have built that same kind of connection if I wouldn't have put pen to paper.
Yeah. And I like that you said that, right? Because as much as it's about building that connection with the inner child, like that inner child is still you. That's still grown Andres hurting. That's still grown Andres going through life with the traumas that he had to deal with growing up. And so that connection kind of it's weird how they mesh together and you're like, okay, like I want to heal my inner child and that makes you whole as a person, as an adult and you learn things about yourself. And so that's part 2 to this, right? Is like the responding. I also had you respond to letters that you had written to little Andres with your left hand, right? Because they say that, we're with our right hand, if you're right-handed, left-handed, whatever your dominant hand is, use the opposite hand because that triggers the opposite side of our brains, right? So it kind of taps into something that you don't even know is there anymore. And so when you start to write with your left hand, you're like, holy moly, like these emotions are coming out of me that I didn't even know existed.
So, I mean, what you're saying really is something that people should also practice as well, is like you said, writing a letter to your inner child, whatever emotions, whatever thoughts, whatever feelings you're having, just write them on paper. And like you said, respond to that letter the next day, the next 2 days. Just make sure there's a little bit of time in between, but respond to that letter with your left hand because it's
Your non-dominant hand.
yeah, oh yes. Yes. So your non-dominant hand. And so because I don't know how proven fact it is, but I know that it is believed that when you write with your right hand, that's yourself now. And when you write with your non-dominant hand, that's working a different part of your brain, which is
Hmm.
also helps to tap into that inner child. And so when you respond with your non-dominant hand, it's your inner child responding to the letter that you've written as who you are now. And so doing that exercise, it really did help me. When I was writing with my left hand, I was also able to feel those emotions that as I was responding to myself now. And so that also helped me be able to connect with the emotions that my inner child was feeling. And then having written down some stuff that I didn't even know had certain meanings until I was able to read some of those letters with you, and you were able to see things that I wasn't even able to see. So even though some people can do that, right, with their dominant hand and then answer with their non-dominant hand, sometimes it does take somebody who's more further in the journey to be able to help you see some of the things that your inner child might be trying to tell you that you can't see yourself because you're not so
You're just beginning the journey.
yeah, yes, so you're just beginning the journey, so you don't really have that eye or that.
It's a blind spot, is what it is. You don't have
Okay,
the
yeah.
eye to see the
Mhm.
blind spot.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so, what would you tell somebody who comes to you and they say, well, Andres, I really want to journal or I really want to tap into myself in terms of inner child healing. But every time I write, I'm scared because I don't want to remember something or these feelings come up and I really don't feel comfortable feeling them right now.
So that is totally fine, and it is up to the person that if they're not ready to feel those feelings, then you are able to, while you are writing and feelings do come up that you're not ready to face, it's okay to stop right there, to take a break, either for a couple minutes, a couple hours, for the next day. Or if you really don't want to feel those feelings, then you can just stop writing about it for now. Because if you are on a journey to really explore yourself and your inner child, those thoughts are going to come up again. So even if you do decide to take a break from it, it's probably going to come up again because it's a situation or an emotion that you're going to have to work through eventually. So even if you take a break now, maybe when you are a little bit further down the path, you'll be able to revisit that situation or that emotion, and you'll be able to work through it a little bit more because now you do have a little bit more of a tolerance to facing those emotions. So it is always okay to just stop, take a break, or to just stop and revisit it later when you are a little bit stronger or a little more able to handle those emotions.
I love that. Okay. And I also jotted some notes down on the side, so I will be looking down. So I feel like a key is to remember the goal of journaling for inner child healing is to make sure that you are coming from a place of understanding, compassion, connection with your inner self, love, grace. And I'm going to harp on the last one. Grace, because I feel like personally, when I realized like, wow, I had lost that connection. Like I didn't even know there was a little me inside of me. It made me feel bad. And it made me feel like, man, I was so pissed off at the world for neglecting me when I was neglecting myself. So it takes a sense of grace and realizing like, hey, like I didn't even know there was a little me inside of me. Like it's okay, but now I know so I can do better. Now I'm going to protect little me. Now I'm going to make sure she's safe, that she's loved, that I'm keeping her from harm, that I'm setting boundaries. And so grace, I feel like you are going to have to use grace through those journals or when you're reading through the journals or going through them if you do go back because you're going to be like, wow, I put myself through a lot and I went through a lot and some of it was self-inflicted and sometimes it wasn't. But learning to have the grace and saying, I'm not in that spot anymore. I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm coming from a place of compassion. And so I feel like that's key to journaling is also having compassion for yourself because I know you and I have discussed it from time to time is we can also be judgmental when we're responding to little us, right? If we are overthinking it and it's not flowing necessarily, it could be our brain telling us that negative self-talk saying things to us versus it actually being our inner child. So learning the difference between when it's your inner child speaking and when it's the negative self-talk that starts to come in and tell you like you did this or you weren't good enough or like just any kind of negative vibes that you're getting off of that, you really have to learn to separate the two, if that makes sense.
Well, it does because one way of knowing or one way of being able to separate it is your inner child, most of the time, when it speaks to you through thought and through emotions with those thoughts and not really a voice, or at least in my experience, it's not really a voice, but it's thoughts and feelings that come with those
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. And when it comes to my inner critic, all I hear is somebody, of course, it's my voice, but it's not really me. I hear my own voice just repeating things that I've heard throughout my life and just bashing me and being really critical of all my actions. And every time that it has been my inner child, it has never been something critical or it's never been bashing me. It's always been something in my life that happened when I was a child and an emotion attached to that thought. So I know that every time that I hear my voice telling myself something, that I know that that's not my inner child and that it's my inner critic that's just running the programming that I've been programmed to hear or that I've heard for so long. And it's just repeating itself over and over. That's how I know how to differentiate between the two.
Okay. I love that. Okay. And so for me, I would say for our listeners who are on a journey to healing and interested in journaling, I would say there's different ways to do it. There's the writing the letter to little versions of you. There's just writing about your day, writing about whatever emotions you're feeling. There's also prompts. So I have a couple prompts here. You could ask yourself questions like, what did I love doing as a child? That helps build that inner connection and you write it down. What are my happiest memories as a child? What did I need as a child that I didn't receive? So write that question down. What did I need that I didn't receive? That doesn't even have to be a letter to yourself. Start answering it with your left hand and just see what comes up. And so there's different ways to go about it. So, Healing Papa, if somebody is saying, "Why should I even start journaling in the first place?" What would your response be?
So if somebody came to me being on the fence of whether they should even start journaling or not, what I would say to them is that when you journal, that gives your inner child a voice because when you start journaling those thoughts that are scrambling in your head, it's your inner child. A lot of it can be your inner critic, but when you start journaling and writing it down, your inner child starts to come out because now that you're journaling and you're giving yourself a safe place to be able to start writing down those thoughts. And since it's a safe place, those emotions and those thoughts start to come out more freely you don't because it's safe. So it's not
You're not afraid of it.
yeah, since you're in a safe space and you're not afraid, all those emotions and thoughts are able to come out more freely because you're giving it a platform and a safe space to do it. And then, like I said, with those thoughts being unscrambled and coming out on paper, it also helps you to be able to uncover any buried emotions that you have. So while you're writing, sometimes random thoughts pop up and you're like, oh man, like that situation did happen and when you feel that situation happen, you also feel the emotions that you went through when you had that situation. And if you weren't journaling, that's something that probably would have never came up because you didn't give yourself the space to be able to even think about that situation and you wouldn't have given yourself space to feel that emotion. So that's why it's so important to be able to take the time to get quiet and to sit and to start journaling. And once those emotions do pop up, you also give yourself space to be able to start responding to to that situation or those emotions as yourself now. So you have a better perspective than you did as a child on why that situation happened or what was even going on during that situation. And that's how how you're able to start reparenting yourself because now you're able to tell little you the way that I said, like for my example, how I said that I was being bullied and how I was feeling that fear when I'm standing in front of people now, but being able to tell myself that, okay, but I'm not in that situation anymore. I don't have to be scared when I'm standing in front of people and when the spotlight is on me, because now the spotlight doesn't mean that I'm in a situation where I'm going to start being ridiculed, but I'm in a spotlight where people are listening to me and I have the chance to be able to turn my thoughts into words that can impact other people. And so that's why I believe that journaling is so important because it just helps you bring all this out that you wouldn't be able to if you don't dedicate time and space to be able to do it.
I love that. Okay, last question. Would you feel that journaling has silenced your negative self-talk and made you more in tune with your inner child?
Well,
And be honest.
since the two aren't the same, it hasn't silenced my negative thoughts, but it has made it easier to differentiate between the two. So now I know when it's my negative thoughts, and then I know when it's my inner child. And for the most part, since I already have a routine, most of the time my inner child comes out during certain times. So during meditation or when I'm writing in my journal and any other time that I hear those negative thoughts going through my head, I know that that's not my inner child. And the voices haven't silenced because I've been programmed for so long. I'm
Mhm.
36, so I've been programmed. Even now, I'm still being programmed because I'm not perfect. So things that are happening to me, they're still being processed. And even though it's through a different lens now, since I'm not perfect and since I'm still on the healing journey, things that I don't already know how to recognize are still going to get programmed in me. So it's always going to be a continuing thing of information and negative thoughts, negative emotions, life happening that's being programmed within me. So that's always going to be fuel for my inner critic. So that voice never stops. But now with the journaling, I'm able to differentiate between the two. And that's been a real game changer because now when I know it's my negative self-talk, I'm able to not to ignore it, but I'm able to not listen to it, to acknowledge that I'm hearing it, but knowing that it's not true, that it's not me, or also being able to remind myself of what my inner child really feels. So when I'm like when I'm about to step in front of a room and I'm feeling nervous and my head's trying to tell me, okay, well, what are they gonna think about you? How are you gonna look? What if you don't impress these people? So now with the journaling, I've been able to do exercises where I get to put those thoughts, like, am I going to impress them? What are they going to think about me? And being able to journal it and being able to work through it and to come out realizing that the reason that I'm so nervous when I'm about to walk up in front of everybody is because, okay, I'm putting all the emphasis on myself. And so if I keep worrying about how I look in front of everybody, that's the reason why that's going to be putting a lot of pressure on myself, and that's what makes me so nervous. But having written it down, it helps me see that, okay, since you're putting so much emphasis on yourself, now you have to put the emphasis on what you're trying to express to everybody else, the impact that you're trying to have on everybody else, or what the ideas that you're trying to say to help change their lives or their perspective. If I'm focusing on them and not on me, that fear goes down by a lot. The nervousness really diminishes to a real low level. And that's something that I wouldn't have even been able to come close to realizing if I would have never put that pen to paper, putting those thoughts down and just working through them and not even having a direction of how to work through them, but just putting them on paper and it just starts happening as you start writing. So that's why I think journaling is so important. And that's one result that's came out of me starting that journey on journaling.
I love that. Okay. And so I want to challenge everyone to just give it a shot. Just give it a shot. Write down your feelings, your emotions. You will feel uncomfortable at the beginning because anything that's new is scary sometimes, or nerve wracking, or intimidating. But in order to see greatness and a change in you, you have to do something that is different, because I feel like what we've been doing for so many years hasn't worked. And if it did, we wouldn't be looking at inner child healing videos and trying to fix ourselves, whatever it is, right? So, what we were doing, for my experience, the last 35 years didn't work out for me. So, I had to change things and really work on something different and think outside the box. I would have never done journaling and meditation and all of this that I've kind of dove into, but I challenge you guys to sit down, like Andrea said, put pen to paper, or just do what works for you in terms of letting your emotions out, letting your feelings out, and also seeing it as, guys, that's stored energy. That's stored energy in your body. And our bodies are not meant to store energy. It can make you sick, it can make you stress out, it can make you whatever, but get it out whatever way possible. So I challenge you to do that. And I also want to add one more challenge on top of that. So it's a double challenge this week. I want to challenge you to, when you are journaling, ask yourself, what did the little version of you like to do when you were little? And for me, I liked singing. I'm not really an outdoorsy girl, but I love the ocean. I like to sit there and listen to it, dig my feet in the sand. With Andres, he liked playing PlayStation. So there's going swimming and being in water. So there's different things that you'd like to do as a kid that as adults we just grew to learn that we didn't have time for it. And it's not necessarily that we didn't have time, it's that we didn't make time for ourselves. So journaling and make time for yourself. Make time for yourself to do something that you love to do as a kid. And let me know in the comments, how did that work for you? Were you like, hey, the journaling sucks, I need some more help? Or are you like, you know what, this really worked. I was able to get a lot off my plate and it's something that I want to continue to do and implement into a daily routine. And I want to tell you, another part for me before we wrap up that was hard is the making excuses in terms of journaling. Like when I first started, like I'm a mom, I own businesses, I work full time, I have a husband, I gotta cook, I don't have dogs. Like I made every excuse in the book to make it hard for myself versus saying like, hey, I'm gonna make time for myself today. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, it could be something quick. And having grace for myself if I miss a day. Like we don't want to miss weeks at a time, but knowing it's all right. I didn't have time today. Life happened, but not forgetting to make time for you because you are your most important person. You can't take care of other people unless you can take care of yourself. And you can't be the best version of you possible for others unless you could be that for yourself. So I challenge you to do those two things. Healing Papa, do you have any challenges, recommendations?
I would just second the two challenges that you gave our listeners because I know how much thinking about journaling is going to be way harder than actually journaling. So to those that are thinking about it and are on the fence, the only reason you're on the fence about it is because you're not doing it. You're just thinking about it. And I can say from experience that thinking about it is way harder than it is than to actually do it. And the second thing I would say is if you do have a busy schedule, you're for myself, I can say that I have a busy schedule. And so I make sure that I do my journaling in the morning now before I really start my day. Because once I start my day and I say, okay, well, I'm going to make time in between my day to do my journaling, it never gets done. So starting my day with journaling before I actually get into the flow of the daily routine that I do, I make sure that I do the journaling first because that's how I know that it gets done. Everybody's still asleep, so I have that quiet time to be able to let my thoughts out on paper. If you have to, sometimes you have to look at your schedule and see, okay, do I have time during the day to journal? And if I don't, okay, well, does that mean I have to wake up earlier? And for myself, that's something that I do now is having to wake up earlier than I've ever have, but also knowing that if I'm going to wake up early, that means that I have to go to sleep earlier because I can't wake up earlier and still go to sleep at the same time. So I can't expect to wake up rested. And if I go to sleep at the same time as well, I'm not going to want to get out of bed when that alarm goes off. So making sure that I adjust my schedule to still be able to get the same amount of sleep that I'm getting now. But that's only a suggestion. Of course, it's up to you how bad you want to start working on yourself. Because if you don't make it a priority, everything else is going to come before it. And next thing you know, it's going to be months and you're still going to be stuck in the exact same space. So just do it. Just get that paper, that pen, and just start writing whatever is in your head. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be eloquent, and it doesn't have to be about anything. Just getting into the habit. Eventually, you're gonna have a time where something's gonna come out, and you're gonna be so surprised by what came out. And don't expect that it's gonna be a life-changing realization that you're gonna put on paper. Sometimes it's just what you're thinking, and that's all it is. But just getting into the habit of it, that's what gives you the opportunity for one day, for that one thought, that one situation that's built and it's hidden in you. Making the habit of giving it that space every day is gonna allow it to be able to come up, and it'll be worth it. So just do it. Just get that pen, that paper, and just start doing it now. Because if you don't do it now, you're not gonna do it later. So that's all I gotta say.
And we're not sponsored by Nike. Just saying, just do it. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys for listening, tuning in. Thank you, Healing Papa, for joining me. I love you so much and I appreciate you. I want to say happy early Thanksgiving to everybody. We're filming this the Friday, or it'll come out the Friday before Thanksgiving. So I send you guys so much love. I hope you have an amazing Thanksgiving if you celebrate. I hope you get so full with turkey and stuffing. And I hope everyone just enjoys time with their family. And I send you guys so much love. And please don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe. If you can, please share. That means everything to me. If somebody can hear this story or can learn something out of this or say, hey, maybe I should start journaling, then that made this time that we spent filming so worth it. And that's what we're here for. Please, please like, share, comment, subscribe. I am on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music at Healing Mama Podcast, and on TikTok as Healing Mama Pod. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Healing Papa, any final words?
Healing Papa out.
Bye, guys.
Bye.